Hello. Hey y'all. Sorry I'm a little bit late. Hey Edmund. Hi everybody. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I did too. Yo, Angel. Oh, thank you, Edmund. Thank you. I love my jacket. I went to a Pride event yesterday and I was sporting this jacket. And funny enough, my friend that I went with was also sporting a leather jacket. And yeah, we weren't planning on matching, but we did. Which happens a lot with us. I don't know. Maybe we're that predictable, but it was just funny. But yeah, what's up everybody? Welcome to the General Hospital After Show. I am your host, Dion Gabriel. And we've got lots to discuss today, obviously. But before we get into the stories, we've got to talk about the bombshell announcement of a return that no one expected. At least I didn't. Kelly Thiebaud, who played Britt Westbourne, is returning to General Hospital. Hey, Aaron. Which, wow, I'm really stoked. I love Kelly. I mean, let's talk about it. Now, obviously, it is very unlikely that she is going to be reprising the role of Britt Westbourne. Because, you know, the girl was hooked with poison. And died like a slow and painful death. So I feel like that's out of it. And even if she hadn't, the girl had Huntington's disease as well. So if the hook didn't kill her, her disease would have. Undoing all of that would be the biggest eye roll in history, I think. Oh, hey, Kaiwan. I'm sorry. Feel better soon. My allergies were kicking my ass today because I was outside most of yesterday, and between the smoky fires in other provinces that sort of made its way to us, and the strong winds as well. It was not, you know, I knew that, and also the event that I went to yesterday was completely outdoor, so it just messed with me. It's been a rough day. But I'm here, and I'm okay. But thanks for watching, and if you can't talk, that's okay. And hey, Sandy. But yeah, so, like I said, as you know, I'm happy that Kelly is back, but as happy as I am for her to be back on the show, I am worried that, you know, whatever character she's gonna be is not gonna be as well received. You know, GH doesn't exactly have like a great track record with bringing an actor back to play a different role. You know, second role or even a third. Just ask Michael Easton and Roger Howarth. You know, a lot of times, particularly in the Frank Valentini era, there is very little thought that goes into bringing on the new character beyond, we need to give this actor a role to play. And it seems very obvious that there was no real game plan beyond that and in past sort of castings like that. And, you know, we see it. We see that there's like this obvious pattern of there being no game plan, and we see this pattern of like the show kind of throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. Like there's no full-on plan, you know. And if one thing doesn't work, they'll throw another thing on the wall until something sticks, or like just enough of the audience, you know, accepts it, I guess. Or the writers just give up and write off the character. But my hope is that Frank and the writers respected Kelly enough to really put a thought into whoever she plays next. And seeing Kelly so happy, like, you could tell that she missed GH. And I guess, I mean, I can't remember all the specifics, but I do know that the reason why she left the show and asked the character to be killed is because she really thought she was going to have a brand new chapter. I think she had met someone and she decided to make this big life change to move to England. And not that I've paid much attention, but I don't think it worked out. And so she's back in the States, and I don't think she's really been in a whole lot since GH. So I'm happy for her to have a job and it be likely pretty steady for at least a while, assuming that the character goes well and is well received. I think Kelly has an advantage because I think people genuinely enjoyed her as Brit, which is crazy because, you know, she was the character to hate when she was first on, but it was Kelly's sort of endearing and charming personality that really sort of had the audience get won over with Brit. And the fact that they kind of changed her character enough to, you know, gain a heart and be someone that cares about people and do a good job and care about the hospital and, you know, just be like a real heroine. And, you know, she died saving Jocelyn as well. So, yeah, it's going to be weird to see her as a new character. It's going to be weird. But I'm excited because I think that Kelly's going to bring her A game. And I'm happy to see her on screen again, whoever she will be. I hope that they really put effort into whatever character she's going to play. I'm rooting for that. Sandy says Jason needs a woman. I mean, hey. Although that's a bit worrisome too, for me, because, you know, we've seen it where, for example, we had Todd and Carly and people really liked them, and they assumed, like, because Roger Howarth and Laura Wright have chemistry, that they were going to accept Carly with Franco, and that didn't go so well. And same with what was I going to say? I'm drawing a blank. But there's been, like, relationships where you know, two actors play a couple, and then they try it again with a different character, and it doesn't work out the same way. So it ultimately depends on if the characters, whoever she plays, and Jason will jive well together. But also, it's I guess my one curious thing is if they are going to bring Kelly on, are they going to have the cast acknowledge that she looks just like Brit? That's my question. Because funny enough, this week Cody brought up Brit this week because he and Molly were sitting at the pool, and he was reminiscing about how he landed right here at the pool in Port Charles the first time and ran and kind of knocked over Brit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do and how they'll handle the resemblance if they're going to acknowledge it. And by the way, I am totally fine when shows do not acknowledge it. You know, I'm someone that has watched American Horror Story like every season and watched these characters play different roles and then bring some of their older characters back into the fold, and no one really acknowledged the similarities. It's just you know, it's like theater. You gotta use your imagination. They're convincing you this is this new person. Yeah, they have a familiar face, but that's only recognizable to the audience. To the characters, this is a whole new person. I'm cool with that. Yeah, Brooklyn, you said you're excited for Kelly's return. I am too. Sandy says Jason needs a woman. Like I said, I'm worried that the chemistry might not be the same with whatever character she's going to be. Put her with whoever seems right in the situation. Maybe they'll put her with Isaiah. Who knows? Taiwan, you think that she's going to be tied into the Dalton story? Maybe. Hard to say. Angel, you asked if she's still with her man. I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like she's been back in the States for like a while. Like at least a year. But, like, don't quote me on that. I just don't think that she's with him anymore. Like, I've not seen him on there at all. I've not seen her appearing to be in London at all. So, I don't know. Brooklyn. Doesn't matter what role Kelly would be playing as long as they hooked her up with Jason. It does matter a little bit. It does matter. Like I said, we've seen characters, you know, or couples, you know, play one sort of couple and then it not work out for another time. Like, the other example I was going to say was Sam and John McBain versus Sam and Silas Clay. Not the same. Didn't work out. Autumn, you said, I really hope Michael gets primary custody of his children. Drew is highly manipulative. He's a danger to the kids. We'll talk about that. We're saving the court stuff for last, just because it's kind of the main thing to talk about. Rick, you said Steve Burton's wife can be on the show. Is she not? I thought she was like a social media influencer. Is that what I heard? I know Jonathan Jackson was in the wedding, so congrats to Steve. I forget if I said that last stream, but congrats to Steve on his marriage. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Frank Valentini is kind of known for bringing on spouses to the shows. We've seen that with Laura Wright, and I forget the actor's name, but the guy who played Peter August. Wes Ramsey. There we go. And we've seen it with Sidwell and his wife, who is playing ADA Turner. So yeah. Wouldn't be the first time, or the second time, or the third time that has happened. So we shall see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about Kelly's return. All right, now I guess we should get into the show itself, right? So, but also we'll kind of stay on the topic of characters that had very little thought put into them. Let's kick things off with Natalia. Now, the last time we had seen Natalia before this week, she was shunned from Deception and mad that Sonny tossed her aside, despite how she was there for him throughout his hard issues. And then she told Sidwell about it and, threw Sonny under the bus, which may or may not have led to his attempted murder after his surgery. The verdict is still out on that one. It makes sense that it would be Sidwell. We don't know that for sure. But ever since that moment in the story, she hasn't been seen. And since then, I guess she's just been moping around town, jobless and depressed, that neither of her kids want anything to do with her. And this week, we see her at the once again revived Metrocourt pool, also making a return to the show, trying to plea to her son, Marco, for his help, and on getting Allie to talk to her, to convince her to take her back and tour around with her again, which he refused to do. And he did, it didn't help the situation that she basically dismissed Lucas because Marco was actually at the pool with Lucas and spending time with him, barely acknowledged him and told him to go away, basically. So it's just more of the same, Natalia being Natalia, and he was just like, girl, bye. Like, he was just like not dealing with it. But Sonny seen this sort of incident and pulls her aside to try and give her advice to just keep her distance and let them come to her. But at this point, she's kind of tipsy, and then eventually she gets drunk, and she decides to go and try to see Sidwell and confront him because she's convinced he's poisoned Marco against her. But before she can even do that, she gets pulled over for drunk driving and kind of, grabbing something from the officer. It was a whole mess. But yeah, when she is hauled to the station, Molly is there to greet her, but she has to recuse herself because of bias, since she's had a hand in wrecking Christina and Allie's relationship. But what's wild is that she didn't know who Molly was. Apparently Molly and Natalia have never met before. Which again shows that, how very little care went into the character. This, to me, from the start, since she's arrived, has really been about stunt casting. I didn't know Eva LaRue's sort of history, or is that her name? Sorry if I got her name wrong. The actress that plays Natalia, I know that she's like pretty well known in the soaps, even though I'm not privy to her previous work. But it was clearly a typecast. They brought her on as this homophobic mom, and then, once that story kind of wrapped and they sent Blaze out of town, it's like they just wanted to keep Eva, so they were just like, let's put her in scenes with Sunny and build a relationship there. And it's like they tried, and just no one really, I don't know if it was just that no one was receptive to them as a couple, but it just didn't work. And then, now we're in this situation where like the character has nothing really left to do and very little reason to stay. Like she's been on the canvas for like how long now, and the fact that she never met Molly is telling in itself. Angel, yeah, I don't doubt that that's correct. Hey, Nathan, by the way. Edmund, you said, wasn't Sidwell supposed to smooth things over with Marco in exchange for telling Sunny's secret? I guess so, but I guess he didn't. Yeah, I heard those rumors. I was going to talk about that next, Nathan, which we'll mention in a bit. But just to kind of wrap things into that story, Natalia, I don't know. I can just see her character getting killed off. Like, I don't know. Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about the rumors. Yeah, there's rumors that she's leaving the show, and it wouldn't surprise me because they aren't utilizing her. So, her kid in town doesn't want anything to do with her. Her kid out of town doesn't want anything to do with her either. She doesn't have a job anymore, and the one character that mildly tolerated her is only still mildly tolerating her, but like keeping his distance anyway. So, like, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. So yeah, her character feels cooked at this point, especially if they're gonna use her to bring down either Sunny or Sidwell. And so to that end, after Molly had left and recused herself, the ADA, ADA Turner, she steps in. And this ADA has political aspirations. She wants to take Sunny and Jason down. She wants to take down Anna and Laura for being Sunny and Jason's friends. She wants Robert's job, which shouldn't be that hard considering he's not even in town and not on the show anymore. And by the way, earlier she had run into Jason and Anna, who were meeting in the park about a matter that we'll discuss later. And to ADA Turner's credit, Anna did go to Sunny and, warn her that she was investigating him. Not that he didn't know that. He's no dummy. And she's not subtle about it either. So, like, I don't know. But needless to say, I think Natalia seems to be her next pawn to sort of get to Sunny. And like I said, so, the show's not utilizing her. I can see, the ADA getting something out of Natalia about Sunny, and then I think she will die. And it's not like I think Sunny's gonna kill Natalia. I think that Sidwell is going to kill Natalia and frame Sunny to try and get him out of Port Charles. That is my guess. Old Christina might be coming back. I doubt it. Otherwise it would be on actual reputable news sources. If you're getting your news off Facebook, don't listen to Facebook, dude. Sandy, you said Natalia never had a purpose. Exactly. She was just a thorn on Blaze's size for her coming out story, and she wasn't needed to be kept there. But yeah, like the ADA has a point though. Yeah, like Anna literally went to Sonny to warn him that she's investigating him, and he is a criminal. So like, valid. And also, Anna could have went to Spinelli about why Jason and Anna met up in the first place. Again, we'll get into that later. But yeah, for now, let's move on to Gio. Let's talk about Gio. This dude has had it rough. No question there the last couple of weeks. He's been trying to figure out who to trust. He kind of trusts Sonny at the moment. After he realized Sonny had no clue that he was his grandson. Gio was confused why Sonny was always so nice to him from the time he was a baby. And Sonny gave the speech like, oh, I just always knew you were special for some reason. And it's like, okay. But yeah, Sonny had to point out, like, I didn't know Dante was my son till he was an adult. So I had no way of knowing that he was my kid when he got Brooklyn pregnant. So, like, why? So that was the sort of, there you go moment for Gio. Meanwhile, Brooklyn had to face off with Lois and Gloria this week, who spent their entire conversation trying to justify the actions and the choices that they made, and how they chose to keep Brooklyn in the dark about where or who Gio was. Even after Camila, whatever her name is, the mother that adopted Gio, so to speak, the woman he knew as his mother before she died. Gio eventually shows up there as well. He had to come get his stuff, but through that, he did learn that Brooklyn definitely didn't know he was her child, so that was confirmed to him, but it doesn't really matter to him because the only thing that really mattered to him was that she didn't want him when he was born. And, that is something that's going to be tough for any kid to deal with. But yeah, by the end of those particular scenes, Brooklyn had banned Lois and Gloria from the house. Brooklyn was so furious, she didn't even let Lois pack her things. She's like, I'll have them sent. Go, get out. Brooklyn's mad, yo. But yeah, like, that's how you know Brooklyn's done. That's just going to be a hard thing for Lois to come back from. I'm not surprised that she's likely leaving the show. Lois does briefly stop at Sonny's, saying that she's headed back to Bensonhurst to ask Sonny to look out for him. Look out for Gio. Because he really doesn't have anyone else in the family that can, be there for him at the moment. Because Gio's pushing everyone else away. So Sonny's got to be the one to sort of, like, at least keep an eye on him. And he does promise her that he will. But yeah, Gio, he is working though, so he's back at his job at the pool. I forgot that he worked there. But yeah, and he had run into Sonny and Laura there, and initially he thought Sonny was spying on him, which pissed him off. But Laura was like, no, I actually asked Sonny to meet me here at the pool, and then he apologizes. But Laura was kind to Gio too, since they're now extended family through Rocco. What are you guys saying? Ricky said Gio might be going to since he's playing the violin on other events now. But he's always done that, even on GH. Like, he's been doing that since he's been on. So I'm sure it'll happen. Like, he'll just still be on screen, but he just has gigs. Like, he's not going to leave the show for, like, a gig here and a gig there. Sort of doing, like, a tour or something. We're having Gio on the show for a while. Edmund, you said, is Lois really leaving the show? Yes. She did state that those scenes were her last scenes. And I think it's because the Rena Sofer actually said that she was wanting to semi-retire. And she's no longer living in, like, where they shoot GH. So I'm sure that she'd come back for, like, guest appearances. She's gonna have to at some point. Angel said, I was surprised BLQ kicked her out of the house without asking Monica. Well, I think Lois would have left anyway. So, and to be fair, like, Monica's probably too weak to argue one way or the other. So, I don't know. It is what it is. And also, I think that Monica, in this situation, would read the room and sense that Lois needs to go because of how her secrets affected the whole family. You know, it's like, it's the fact that, you know, Ned was left in the dark, Tracy was left in the dark. Like, there's all this secrecy and all this pain in the house with Gio and Brooklyn and Ned and Tracy is caused by what Lois did. So I think that Monica would have probably nicely asked her to leave if she wouldn't have left on her own accord anyway. But yeah, anyway, going back to the story though, while Gio was working, that shady politician who's Drew's lapdog, I always forget his name, he showed up and live streamed Sunny and Laura, you know, having a drink together at the pool. And Gio pretended that he couldn't see and pushed him into the pool. I'm glad Gio still has a sense of humor to him despite what he's going through. And something tells me he'll have another distraction in the form of Emma Scorpio Drake. Or Emma Drake, whatever she goes by. So let's get into that story. She's still pissed at Jocelyn and is sure that Jocelyn stole the job from her, which she technically did with Dalton. And Dalton happened to be at the pool as well with Sidwell of all people and Jordan. And of course, Jocelyn sat there with them as well. And while Emma was in the pool, before their meeting was over, Dalton stuck around and was ogling Emma hard. Clearly sexually attracted to her, like aroused by her. And Emma took notice and played up to it. Even talking to him, kind of trying to slowly persuade him to reconsider hiring her again. Not in like a direct way, but just saying things like, I really wanted to work by your side at the lab. It was something that I just really, really wanted. And like batting her eyes and like saying it all sexily and like, you know, in her bikini. And at one point, like, Emma asked Gio if Dalton was like watching her, and she had this like sort of wrap around her, and she like dropped it to make him notice her more, which he did. Like, damn, man. Gross. Edmund, you said you said Gio's going to join the mob. I hope not. Let the man get another violin. The other soap opera that she was on, you know, it was a big deal that she quit because she retired, like how Tracy retired. Well, you know, yeah, a girl can change her mind, but for the time being, Rena Sofer is done. Aaron, you said, when will GH acknowledge actress that plays Monica's passing? I hope it's soon, because now it's just getting a little bit silly. Like, I figured the nurse's ball, and then with all the drama, I was like, okay, so maybe after the nurse's ball, maybe they're waiting for Michael to be back in town. He's back in town, they're still not acknowledging it. So I don't know. Stupid imbecile Frank Valentini won't make her dead till the end of the year. I mean, who knows? We'll see. I hope it's soon, but hard to say. Then Rick, why are you watching the show? Like, why do you watch if you hate everything on it? I just find it silly. I'm like, yeah, there's like things, there's frustrations, but like the people still continue to watch. And it's like, okay. Because I can find things that I still like about the show. And actually, like, to be fair, I've actually really enjoyed the court story. I've enjoyed the climax of the Geo stuff, as shitty as the rest of it was. The fallout's been amazing. The actors have been incredible. And so I'm enjoying most of the show right now. So I'm sorry you feel that way, but like, stop watching then. Angel, I don't think Kaiwan actually watches GH. I think he just has like this fan fiction in his head and just has the most ridiculous thoughts, and not a single one of them are going to come true. And not a single one of them makes sense. I wish I could live in that much delusion, but actually no, I don't, because that would be shitty storylines. That would be shitty storylines. But yeah. Kaiwan, nobody cares about Susan Moore. Nobody. The show doesn't. We don't. Nobody cares. You know, the deal was when we were watching Susan Moore that you would stop bringing her up. And here you are, every week, bringing her up. Why? I don't understand. She was a boring-ass character. Alright. Moving on, though. Emma's playing a dangerous game. Agreed. Edmund, you said I'm loving the stories and acting right now? Yeah, me too. I think the stories have been far more interesting the last couple of months than they have been for, like, you know, a long time. But alright, let's get back to the kind of recapping the show. Alright, y'all, simmer. Okay, so Jocelyn's handler, whose name I also forget, and I feel bad. Like, that's just how he is to me. But he witnessed some of the interactions with Emma and Dalton himself, but was called back to the WSB headquarters, as was Joss. And the reason being is because he was called by Anna. Sorry, he, as in the Jack Brennan. Sorry, Jack was called by Anna, who was suspicious of what Dalton was up to. She had obviously looked into it because it kind of tied into Emma's past, and she knew that them being at the different school together and him being there now can't be just a coincidence. And Jack does his best to dismiss it, which only makes Anna more suspicious, because now she's convinced that the WSB is interested and probably knows what's going on there, which they kind of do, but they don't. They want to know what he's working on because they think they can utilize whatever it is, and they need to find out what it is before someone else does, so they can use it for themselves. But yeah, by the way, when Jack kind of dismissed her, Felicia pays Anna a visit, and she tries to convince Felicia to put back her sleuthing shoes on, but Felicia kind of just thinks that she's being protective of Emma, and that Jack dismissing it in kind of a similar way had some truth to it. Vaughn, yes, it is. Thank you, Aaron. Vaughn is the handler. But yeah, it's like Anna, I don't know. Anna's a WSB agent, so she knows their tells. So that should have been enough for Felicia, but it wasn't. And so that's why she meets up with Jason later, and that's where ADA Turner had run into them in the park. And Anna convinces Jason to go along with the investigation because Jocelyn is working with Professor Dalton, and of course, Anna doesn't know that Joss is in the WSB. Nobody does. Yeah, it is an interesting quirk. And as much as I was like not here for Jocelyn being a WSB agent, I'm more so here for it now than I was initially. However, the thing is, like, I think just Emma would have made a better one still. But I do think Jocelyn is a little bit over her head, regardless, as I'm softening to her being in the WSB. Because she probably doesn't know just how shady the WSB can be. She has really no knowledge of the WSB's history. She was kind of wrangled into being a spy and just kind of told that they do good in the world. And, like, we know, as viewers of the show, that WSB, at least since the 2010s resurgence of it, has been corrupt and shady the whole time, where I don't think it was as corrupt back in the day. At least not from the storylines I had seen. Autumn said Will is very easy to manipulate. Yeah, we're saving that conversation for later. We haven't talked about it yet, Autumn. But let's move on. Yeah, I don't know. Jocelyn's in over her head, and I think Emma is playing with fire, but she'd probably make a better sleuth than Jocelyn. Because Jocelyn wouldn't have gotten anywhere if it wasn't for Emma, really. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the Ashfords for a sec. Because they had a nice family dinner. As nice as it could be anyway, with Portia and Drew, or not, Portia and Curtis, sorry, sort of arguing in the dark and just pretending like their relationship is fine, with the Drew blackmailing thing. Marshall returned briefly to join them for dinner in the middle of his tour, no less. But the funniest thing, and the best thing, honestly, about this dinner is that we learned that TJ is actually still in town. TJ is still in Port Charles and still working at General Hospital. He is clearly in another wing that nobody knows about, but he's there, supposedly, and they finally acknowledged him. It's just been so ridiculous that nobody for it's been at least 9 months has acknowledged TJ even slightly. No one has brought him up until this week, from all this time since he and Molly broke up and he moved out, and there's just been nothing. Oh my lord. Well, you said I will accept KT new character with Jason only because it will keep us from a horrible cringe-worthy Jarly 4.0 romance. I don't know. I don't see... I feel like if they were truly going to go that route again, they would be sort of still throwing those hints at them kind of having feelings for each other. But almost immediately after Steve Burton came back, they just kind of shut it down. So I don't think it's going to happen anyway. But I don't mind Jason getting a new love interest. I just hope that the character, that they can kind of give off chemistry with a new character being in the mix of that. Because Britt had her personality, and it really contrasted Jason's sort of lack thereof personality. So, in that context, it kind of worked well in their favor. But I also think, I hope that they keep that part of it. Because I feel like, especially throughout the years with Britt, Kelly Thiebaud has put a lot of herself into that character. Because if you follow her on IG or anything, probably, she's hilarious. And she's quirky, and she's fun. And I don't know, I love Kelly. So I hope that they bring a part of Kelly into the role that she's playing next, and they don't make her this polar opposite of Britt to sort of establish her as someone new. She can still be quirky and still be different from Britt. So that's my hope. But yeah. Aaron says Jason and Carly's with Jack Brennan still, right? Yes, she is, but when she finds out that Jack wrangled her into the WSB and helped her daughter cover up a murder and convinced her, put her in these dangerous situations, then Carly's gonna drop him like a bad habit. So there, she ain't gonna be together with him unless they can keep that secret. And no secret is safe in Port Charles. We know that. But yeah, anyway, going back to the Ashfords though, Kai and Trina were also at this dinner, and so Marshall got to meet the boy who has stolen Trina's heart, but he does see that Kai is fond of Drew, which he obviously has concerns about. And later, when Curtis and Portia thought they were alone, to make matters worse, by the way, Kai overheard their plan to find Jacinda and pay her to say that Drew got the drugs himself. So, that's not good. And that could work in Drew's favor, at least when it comes to the Portia thing. Verdict's still up there on how this will affect the trial. If at all. But yeah. Curtis, he also opened up to Marshall once they were really alone in the house about what had been going on. And Marshall tries to convince him to fight for his marriage instead of simply giving up. Curtis has been basically shunning Portia and being royally pissed at her. And just basically hot-headed about her lying to him, which I can't blame him completely. But at the same time, she was acting on fear, which I think Jordan came by and kind of said that afterwards, just to point it out to him. And that's basically what their story was this week. I don't need to see more Curtis being all high and mighty about Portia lying again. She's obviously put them in a bad spot, but she was acting out of fear that Drew could destroy her life if she didn't do what he said. So it is what it is. Moving on. Let's talk about Lucky. Which, you guys, we talked about it Thursday, but Jonathan Jackson is leaving the show. We didn't know how long he'd be on, to be fair, but like I said in the last live stream, it feels like this return was so pointless. They shouldn't have even tried to dangle Liz and Lucky in the first place, because they kind of played off the story about how, Lucky is a certain way, and he wants to change his life and be there for his kids and his family again because he missed out on so much. And they essentially, this week, reverted that completely. First of all, it started out like a really good week. Lucky told Elizabeth about Christina and how he knew, and was being honest with her. And then they sort of made up, and then Elizabeth spotted a wedding ring that was on the couch where he was sitting. And the next day we see Lucky taking out Elizabeth to a gazebo for this really romantic dinner and dancing and just this wholesome thing. And then he proposes to her, and Elizabeth turns him down because he would be miserable. She knows who he is. He likes the open road, blah, blah, blah. And, doesn't want to change him and doesn't want to stop him from being happy by saddling him up with a life with his child and his wife. Ex-wife, who could have been a wife again. And then Lucky's like, well, how about, once Aiden graduates, we explore the world together. And Elizabeth is like, my life is here. I love what I do. I love being a nurse. I have, friends and family here. I want to stay. And so Lucky's like, you know what? You're probably right. I should leave forever. The whole thing is pointless. I saw someone said it's a flop. Yes, it was, Autumn. It was a flop. It's just so stupid. What a waste of a story. And again, and I said this in the live stream on Thursday, the fact that it took how long to even get him back into town, and we had to watch him and Sidwell play card games for a whole month and a half before he even met anyone in Port Charles. Ridiculous. Edmund, you said, I think Portia is going to sleep with Dr. Ganon. We'll see. I don't not see it. I don't want it, but I don't not see it. And you said talking to Jordan about his marriage for Curtis was inappropriate. Yeah, it really is. It's like Curtis, for whatever reason, Curtis has Jordan as his go-to whenever he wants to vent about something Portia's done. And it's like, it is like, it's awkward. And like, I think there's been a time where Jordan has stated as such, not to him, but just like to others, that like, it's so like, I'm trying to be civil, but like, yeah, I don't know. Curtis, get some more friends. Or like vent to Laura about it. Vent to Nina about it. Like, vent to someone. Good God. Not your ex-wife. Hey, Allison. Angel said they couldn't even write him out in a way that makes sense. Yeah, like he's not off the show yet, for the record. I think we're going to see him next week. Or this week, sorry. Because he's going to have his goodbyes with Aiden. But yeah, my biggest complaint with Lucky's return is that they really made it at the start seem like he was going to have a lot more scenes with Aiden, and he really didn't. And they threw him into the Christina story for what? He didn't need to be in it. Like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous to me. Angel says, why recast? They just can't write for the character. I mean, I wouldn't hate Greg Vaughn back in the role, but yeah, like they probably could have kept him there and like had him grow and not want to be on the road all the time, but I don't know. I just hate that they made him so much like Luke. Because, you know, that's essentially what Luke did. And the reason why Luke was like that is because Tony Geary got vacations all the time. Because he's Tony Geary. They had to get him off the show 6 months out of the year. Angela said, I can't see Dion. Can the rest of y'all see me? Allison says, there's no point to Lucky this time. Yeah, it felt useless. Like, if he was the one that saved Lulu, that would have made sense to bring him back. And then him trying to rebuild a relationship with her and Laura and Liz and Aiden. But he wasn't even the one that ended up saving her. So what was the point? For him to have a scene with Aiden and to hear his coming out story. Okay. Oh, the rest of y'all can see me. Okay. Alright, so... Alright, guys. I'm glad y'all can see me. But yeah, wasted return. Alright. Now we'll finally get into the Michael and Willow and Drew, just that whole court situation. So, I mean, we talked about a lot of the drama on Thursday. And that was kind of the weird thing about live streaming on the Thursday instead of a Wednesday, is that there wasn't much more left to see. But just to summarize, just the things that I loved about it. I love that they brought up Willow's past with Dawn of Day and showing the comparisons of how she just does whatever a guy tells her to do, and that, you know, there's a pattern there, and that obviously being in a cult may have affected how she kind of deals with situations. But I also love that Jocelyn got to sort of say that Willow stated Drew was the most important thing to her. And yeah, she kind of left out some of the context, but that didn't matter because she said it. But yeah, I love that we also got to hear Michael's history. Not that I'm rooting for Willow in this, but like hearing kind of the history of danger that Michael's been dealing with, which is all very valid things, by the way. You know, Rick brought up Michael being a danger to the kids because of his father's mob dealings, which has not only got him shot in the head and put in a coma for a year, but he was also blown up in the penthouse and, you know, left to recover away from his family for several months. They even brought up him killing Claudia Zaccara. Again, I just love to hear the history of that. Tracy did her best to paint Drew and Willow in the lowest light that she could as well, but Rick pointed out that she was charged for kidnapping the kids for Michael's sake. But Tracy tried to play it off as a misunderstanding, but, you know, she did her best. She did her best, all right? Allison, you said Michael's testimony about Willow was so good. I don't know what you're talking about, Kaiwan. Now we, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. So Sasha then was brought to the stand, and it goes to hell because it turns out Nina did tell Rick the truth, and Rick forced Sasha to answer for it. And so she had to admit that the baby is Michael's, that they hooked up, that he's the biological father, all this stuff. And then Rick's line of questioning caused more stress to Sasha, and she ended up going into labor, and Willow had to help Sasha give birth to their daughter, whose name is Daisy. Now, something that I loved was that Carly overheard Nina getting mad at Rick for putting Sasha on the stand and confronted her for being the one to let the truth come out. And then she threw Nina under the bus and was like, oh yeah, well, I know for a fact that Nina is the one that hired Jacinda to drug you, Drew. and she's like, ha, so there. I love that. Nina's like, no, Carly's like, no, Nina, you're not going to get away with what you did to Sasha up there. I may have not known that that was my grandchild, but you did this. And so here's your consequence on a silver platter. But yeah, so despite being a month early, just to go back onto the baby seems to be in good health. Thank God for Sasha, because, Sasha losing the baby would have been traumatic. Knock on wood that it stays that way. Fun fact, Daisy is Michael's aunt Courtney's stripper name. Oh, weird. I mean, not that Michael would have known that. That's funny, though. I forgot Courtney was a stripper. All right. But yeah, needless to say, the secret's out, so they can kind of all just kind of figure out things from there. Now, to Nina's credit, Nina did go to Sasha and fess up to the fact that she is the one that did that. Sasha's obviously furious, but like can somewhat understand. But she's like, but you have to see that like Willow ending up with full custody, it was not going to be good for the kids, especially with Drew being in her life. And Nina can't deny that. So there's that. But with what went down with Willow helping Sasha and Michael give birth to their child, it kind of softened things between them a little bit. They had a good family moment where Michael was bringing Wiley and Amelia to meet their new sister at the hospital, and Willow was allowed to be a part of that because Wiley asked, and they had this sweet family moment that Drew witnessed. And I don't know. I just think that Drew is going to do his best to make sure that despite the softening and the potential for a better outcome than someone getting sole custody, I think he's going to try to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because heaven forbid he let Willow have any kind of control on her life. By the way, I still think it's ridiculous that people are saying, the characters on the show are still saying, oh, Michael cheating is going to guarantee that Willow gets the custody. And it's like, well, no. If Willow cheating didn't guarantee Michael the custody, what makes you think that the other way would be true? That's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. That's not going to get anything custody. If anything, the thing that's going to screw Michael over the most is the fact that he has been pretty hurt by Sonny's mob dealings multiple times. That's the thing that would probably sway things in Willow's direction. So I don't know. The only thing that Willow doesn't have going in her direction is the fact that she doesn't make great decisions for her kids. They were being dragged from place to place to place. Also, she can continue a relationship with Drew. That's the thing that makes her not a good parent. So I think everything else that they had mentioned throughout the trial, besides the affairs and the one-night stand, like that, all that other things are actual factors Angel says kissing is cheating, by the way. I agree. But I'm just saying, neither thing is going to be a major factor in who would be the better parent. It just shows that they're both cheaters. Whoever did it first, they're both cheaters. So, like, at the end of the day, it's about who's the better person to take care of the kids. And, like, if I were to take myself out of it and not think of who these characters are, if I heard that some woman was dragging their kids from place to place to place to be with a man versus this guy who is rich, wealthy, has an endless amount of family to take care of the kids, I would think that, that would be the better situation to put the kids in, that they have a big family, whereas Willow would be isolated from everyone because Drew has shunned everyone from being in her life, essentially. He's kind of lulled her into being isolated from everybody. And yeah, she has, like, some friends at the hospital and some friends that are, like, seeing what she's doing and just, like, whatever, like, just be careful. But, like, that's not enough to kind of, like, have Willow's needs met. Willow's children's needs met. But I think the better outcome would be Drew gets out of Willow's life and they amicably share custody. And Willow just try to pick up the pieces of her life that Drew helped kind of destroy and move on and find happiness with someone that's not going to manipulate her every chance he gets. What does it matter if Willow got pregnant or not from the one night stand, or from like the hookups? Like, Michael having a baby with another woman doesn't actually affect his ability as a parent. All he did was, take out his anger and frustration in a sexual way with someone after finding out that his wife cheated. Kaiwan. Dude, like, don't be stupid. Like, that's like the most ridiculous, mundane thing. Oh, well, he had a baby with another woman, so he's automatically a bad parent. Well, no. Now he's got a third kid to raise and a big home to do it in, while Willow is off having sex with this politician who is an asshole and not a good person and manipulating Willow and isolating her from everyone she cares about. By comparison, Michael is going to be the better parent in that situation. Michael isn't dragging around the kids from place to place to place so he can have sex with someone. Michael is making sure that his kids are still in a loving home and doing his best in that sense, and having a bunch of family members that will care for him should he be in a situation where there's not like an accident. He's still got things to lean on. If anything were to happen to Drew or Willow, they'd only have just Drew or Willow because Drew has dismantled every person from being in her life, except for Nina, and that's just barely hanging on by a thread. So yeah, it's like, dude, like, Michael having a baby with another woman is not a factor. And you don't know how court works if you think that that's going to be a factor. Like, no, it's just who can take better care of the kids. Michael, who's been a great father, or Willow, the one running around trying to have sex with a politician and putting him above her kids. Yeah, but Kaiwan, it's still not going to factor in. And living with the guy she cheated on with living. But you know what? Willow is living with the guy who she cheated on Michael with. Doesn't matter who cheated first. They both cheated. So it's not going to factor in. It just shows that they're both kind of shitty people. But at the end of the day, Michael is the one who can support their children, better than Willow can, because she's too busy in this weird romantic situationship where she's being told by literally everyone that he's manipulating her, and she can't see it for herself. So that's the tea on that. But I think still I wanted Michael and Sasha to kiss. I don't know. I was never a Michael and Sasha fan, to be fair, Angel. So I don't care if they get together after this. But, you know, I think a lot of that for me was, like, I don't know. Chad Duell's version of Michael made every character they put him in a relationship with boring. Including Willow, to be fair. Willow was much more exciting when she was with Chase. So, like, I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. But now we'll get to see if it's a Chad Duell thing or a Michael thing. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I guess just to finish things off here, I want shared custody, and I want Drew to get got. I want Willow to just, I don't know, be held down with her eyes wide open, like in that movie where it's the Bird Box movie where, like, they open their eyes and then they just, you know, see something and kill themselves. I don't want Willow to kill herself. I just want Willow to just snap out of it or snap into reality. Lil M said Chad Duell Michael had better chemistry with Matt and Christina. That's true. Like, the most, like, chemistry he had was with, like, oh my gosh, the guy who plays Chase. Oh my gosh. But, like, true. And Christina. Yeah, I guess. I feel like Lexi's Christina, maybe. I don't know. Michael should have been gay. Yeah. Yeah. But now we have a new Michael. So we're going to see. You know, it's been, like, it's hard to sort of see anything right now. Because, you know, Michael jumped right back into the canvas, and then the court day was the next day. So once all this kind of blows over a little bit, we get to see Michael as a person again and see what this actor brings to him in, like, a normal sort of living everyday life situation for Michael, and see who he has chemistry with, and see what his personality is like, and see what parts of his own personality he brings into the character. I'm excited to seeing it. I hope it goes well. But on that note, that's kind of it when it comes to the recap. I don't really have much else to say. Autumn, you said I actually like Rory Gibson playing Michael. He brings an edge, like this version. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, Chad could bring edge to Michael as well, but it's, I don't know. Whenever Chad did, it came across as pompous, and I don't know. I like in what's happening with the character right now. It makes sense for Michael to be unhinged like this, and he needs to be sort of strong and firm with how she's been handling their kids. We'll see. But yeah, Sonny had advised Michael to try to do the best thing for the kids, and that is find a way to coexist with Willow, and I don't know, God, maybe just drag her to the truth. Like, they just need things to come out about Drew. What really needs to happen is Nina needs to tell Willow the truth about Drew, and to be fair, she threatened to do that. You know, she's like, if you tell my part in what I did in drugging you, then I will tell Willow the truth about our affair that you were having while you were falling in love with her. So I'm glad that she kind of clapped back with that. Andrew said I'm liking Rory as Michael. Yeah, I don't dislike him. I like him as Michael, but I'm also acknowledging within my own brain box that I really did not like Chad as Michael. So I'm trying to go into Rory's version with, like, as much unbiasedness as I possibly can. So I'm reserving judgment till I see more. Okay? But anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. I will see you guys. Ooh, I might not be able to live stream on Wednesday. It might have to be a Thursday again, but I'll keep you posted. But until then, if you liked this live stream, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. And I will catch you guys later on this week. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Mwah.